Hello, and welcome to the Murder House Radio Show. I'm your host, X. On this show, we will be covering serial killers, mass shooters, disappearances, true crime, and the most deplorable things and people in history. All that good, dark stuff. The Murder House Radio Show will be a radio show / podcast. I'll be uploading videos every Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all if you are viewing on YouTube, and hit the follow if you are listening on a podcasting platform. So sit down, get comfortable, grab some coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is, turn off the lights, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, how's it going? Hope your Friday is going good. We're almost done the month. 1 week to go until June is over. This podcast is being recorded on, March 31st. So, pretty well in advance. But, yeah, hope your Friday's going good. And, my, day's going good so far, so I can't complain. But, before we get into it, all the links for the sources will be in the description below. So, go check those out. So, without any further interruptions, or ado, I guess you could say, let's get into today's video. Today's video is on Harold Shipman. He was born January 14th, 1946, and he died January 13th, 2004. Damn, a day before his birthday. I'd be fucking pissed. He was known to acquaintances as Fred Shipman, and he was an English practitioner. What's that? A practitioner. Oh, so he's a medical professional. Who is believed to be one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history. Ooh, interesting. It's a spicy one. Excusez-moi. On January 31st, 2000, he was found guilty of the murders of 15 patients under his care. Oh, so he's a doctor and he murdered his patients. His total number of victims was approximately 250. Holy shite. Shipman was sentenced to life in prison with the recommendation that he will never be released. Fair. He died by suicide by hanging on the 13th of July, 2004. Fair enough. Yes, a day before his 58th birthday. 58th. So, hung himself in his cell at the prison, HM Prison, Wakefield, West Yorkshire. The Shipman Inquiry, a 2-year-long investigation of all deaths certified by Shipman, which Dame Janet Smith chaired, examined Shipman's crimes. The inquiries identified 215 victims and estimated his total victim count to be 250. So they have 215 for sure victims, but he was only found guilty on 15. What? So, okay then. And about 80% of whom were elderly women. Shipman's youngest confirmed victim was a 41-year-old man. Although suspicions aroused that he had killed patients as young as 4. Oof. He is the only British doctor known to be guilty of murdering his patients, although doctors have been acquitted of similar crimes or convictions on lesser charges. Well, damn. I'm pretty sure there's another serial killer that I've heard of that did the same type of thing, but I'm not sure. Yeah, during World War II, the Nazis would use hospitals like mental asylums as killing factories, basically, because the Nazis thought of mentally ill people as one of the undesirable classes of people. Some dark and interesting stuff. Search it up one day if you want. So there's a quick summary of who this guy is. But if you guys want me to on an off topic note, if you guys want to send some advice in or whatever, I can link my email down in the description. You can send me your guys' problems or whatever, and when we're done talking about the serial killers and stuff at the end of the podcast, I could give you my best advice if that's something you guys would be interested in. So let me know down in the comments or whatnot, and we could make that happen. But Harold Frederick Shipman was born on the 14th of, yeah, I said that. And he was born in Bestwood Council Estate. Okay. In Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, England. Oh, that's some Hobbit shit. No offense, Britain. The second of 3 children of Harold Frederick Shipman. Okay. A truck driver and Verun Britain. Okay. Veria Britannia. Okay. His working class parents were devoted Methodists. When growing up, Shipman was an accomplished rugby player in youth leagues. Nice. Shipman passed his 11 plus, what's that? 11 plus is an examination administered to some students in England and North Ireland in their last year of primary education, which government administers to grammar schools and the secondary schools which use academic selection. Okay, so like a university thing. So he's passed his 11 plus in 1957, moving to his high paved grammar school, okay, Nottingham, which he left in 1964. He excelled as a distance runner, and in his final year at school served as vice captain of the athletics team. Interesting. Shipman was particularly close to his mother, who died of lung cancer when he was 17. Yeah, that would suck. Her death came in a manner similar to what later became Shipman's own modus operandi. In the later stages of her disease, she had morphine administered at home by a doctor. Okay. Shipman witnessed his mother's pain subside despite her terminal condition until her death on the June 22nd, 1963. On November 5th, 1966, he married Primrose May Oxtoby. The couple had 4 children. Okay, so he has 4 children out there somewhere. Nice. Shipman studied medicine at the University of Leeds, graduating in 1970. He began working at Pontefract General Infirmary in Pontefract, West Ridge of Yorkshire, and that is spelt Pontefract. And in 1974, he took his first position as a general practitioner. Word. At the Abraham Ormord Medical Center, ORMEROD. And this was in Todmord. Word. In the following year, Shipman was caught forging prescriptions of pethidine. Pethidine. And pethidine, also known as Mepridine, and sold under the brand name Demerol, among others, is a synthetic opioid pain medication for... Okay, word. It's a pain med. Demerol, so I'm just going to call that Demerol, for his own use. So he's self-prescribed himself pain meds. Okay. He was fined £600 and briefly attended a drug rehabilitation clinic in New York. He became a GP at the Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde, near Manchester in 1977. Interesting stuff. Yeah, if you were born in the hood or whatever, grew up in the hood and did your fare of fuck shit growing up and then became a doctor and were able to prescribe meds, it would be hard not to prescribe your friends meds with a price, of course, so they could sell them, you could make some money off it, and be all good. But yeah, anyways, Shipman continued to work as a GP in Hyde throughout the 80s and established his own surgery at 21 Market Street in 1993, becoming a respected member of the community. In 1983, he was interviewed in an edition of the Grandada television documentary World in Action on how the mentally ill should be treated in the country. A year after his conviction, the interview was rebroadcasted on Tonight with Trevor McDonald. Interesting. So that's his early life and career right there. But also, let me know if in some future videos you want me to add background music. Cause that could be all good. That could be all good. So yeah. So he came to light in March 1998 when a Dr. Linda Ronalds of Brooks Surgery in Hyde expressed concern to the coroner John Pollard of South Manchester District about the high rate of death among Shipman's patients. Okay. In particular, she was concerned about the large number of cremation forms for elderly women that he had needed countersigned. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so one, it would be suspicious as a doctor to have a fuckload of patients die, so good on her for reporting that. And it basically just said she needed to sign a bunch of fucking cremation forms for a bunch of his patients. And she was like, yeah, that's a little fucking sus. We should look into this, man. He's not a very good doctor if a bunch of his patients are out here dying. But yes, police were unable to find sufficient evidence to bring charges and closed an investigation on April 17th. Ooh. The Shipman inquiry later blamed the Greater Manchester Police for assisting inexperienced officers to the case. Ooh, okay. After the investigation was closed, Shipman killed 3 more people. In August, a taxi driver, John Shaw, told police that he suspected Shipman of murdering 21 patients. Why would a taxi driver suspect that? But, alright. Shaw became suspicious as many of the elderly customers he took to the hospital who seemed to be in good health died in Shipman's care. Okay, that makes sense. So, alright, it seems he would kill his victims by giving them high amounts of morphine or whatnot, stuff like that. And he would be like, hey, something's wrong with you, come in for a checkup. And then he'd be like, okay, I need to give you morphine or whatnot. And then boom, lights out. But Shipman's last victim was Kathleen Grundy, who was found dead at her home on the 24th of June, 1998. He was the last person to see her alive. He later signed her death certificate, recording the cause of death as old age. Well, how old was she? Grundy's daughter's lawyer, Angela Woodruff became concerned when solicitor Brian Burgess informed her that the will had been made had been made apparently by the mother with doubts about its authenticity. Oh shit, so I think he was in it for the money too. Like he would kill all these old people and have the will and all the shit or the money just directed to him or whatever. So yeah. The will excluded Woodruff and her children, but left £386,000 to Shipman. Yep, that's what it is. The Burges' urging, Woodruff went to the police, who began an investigation. Ger- Gurney's body was exhumed and found to contain traces of heroin. Holy, what the fuck? Often used for pain control. So diamorphine, diamorphine. So often used for pain control in terminal cancer patients. So strong ass morphine, basically. And Shipman claimed that Grundy had been an addict and showed them comments he had written to the effect in his computerized medical journal. Okay. So he basically told them she was an addict and wrote notes that she had said so. Okay. However, examinations of his computer showed that they were written after her death. Oof. Shipman was arrested on September 7th, 1998, and was found to own a Brother typewriter of the kind used to make the forged will. Okay. Prescription for Murder. Okay, that's a good name. 2000, a year 2000 book by journalist Brian Whittle and Gene Ritchie suggested that Shipman forged a will either because he wanted to be caught because his life was out of control or because he planned to retire at 55 and leave the UK. Well, that's a decent sized chunk of money, so that makes sense. The police investigated other deaths Shipman had certified and investigated 15 specimen cases. They discovered a pattern of his administering lethal doses of diamorphine, signing patients' death certificates, and then falsifying medical records to indicate that they had been in poor health. Okay. So he was only charged with the 15, but they could have probably charged him with more. In 2003, David's I'm gonna butcher the fuck out of this. David Spaghetti Lurter. Fuck me. Spiegelhalter suggested that statistical monitoring could have led to an alarm being raised at the end of 1996 when there were 67 excess deaths in females aged over 56 compared to 119 by 1998. Makes sense. So, Shipman's trial began at Preston Crown Court on the 5th of October 1999, and he was charged with the deaths of the 15 victims by a lethal injection of the fucking morphine between 1995 and 1998. And the victims are Mary West, Irene Turner, Lisa Adams, Jean Lilly, Ivy Loomis, Muriel Grimshaw, Mary Quinn, Kathleen Wagstaff, Bianca Pomfret, Nora Nuttall, Pamela Hyler, Marine Ward, Winfred Mellor, Joan Melly, and Kathleen Grundy. So those are all the deaths he was charged for, and all the victims. Damn. Shipman's legal representatives tried unsuccessfully to have the Grundy case tried separately from the others, as a motive was shown by the alleged forgery of the will. Okay. On the 31st of January 2000, after 6 days of deliberation, the jury found Shipman guilty of all 15 counts on murder and 1 count of forgery. And Mr. Justice Forbes subsequently sentenced Shipman to life in prison on all 15 counts of murder, with a recommendation that he never be released, blah, 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 blah. And is sentenced to 4 years for forging the will. On February 11th, 10 days after his conviction, Shipman was struck off by the General Medical Council, so he was disbarred from the council. 2 years later, Home Secretary David Blockett confirmed the judge's whole life tariff just months before British government minister lost their power to set minimum terms for prisoners. Okay. While authorities could have brought many additional charges, they concluded that a fair hearing would be impossible in view of the enormous publicity surrounding the original trial. Makes sense, because everybody's view would be tainted if there was a second trial. The 15 life sentences already handed down rendered further litigations unnecessary. Oh, so he had 15 life sentences. Okay. And then Shipman became friends with fellow serial killer Peter Moore while incarcerated. Okay. And he always denied his guilt in disputing the scientific evidence against him. He never made any public statements about his actions. And his wife, Primrose, steadfastly mandated her husband's innocence even after his conviction. Okay, so she was being a good wife and stuck by his side, I guess you could say. Shipman is the only doctor in history of the British medicine found guilty of murdering his patients. John Bodkin Adams was charged in 1957 with murdering a patient. Ames rumors he had killed dozens more over a 10-year period and possibly provided the role model for Shipman. Okay. However, he was acquitted. Okay. Historian Pamela Cluen has argued that because Adams' acquittal, there was no imputes to examine the flaws in the British legal system until the Shipman case. Okay, yes, the British justice system is pretty fucked up in my opinion, because I listen to a lot of podcasts about true crime and prison and stuff, and a lot of them come out of Britain, and their system just seems fucked, bro. Like, yeah. But there again, I do compare it to the American system, and their system isn't that good either. Nobody's system is fairly good. But the Nordic countries do have their criminal justice system pretty down pat, if you ask me. So, as I said, he hung himself in his cell, and some of the victims' families said they felt cheated because Shipman's suicide meant they would never have the satisfaction of his confession, nor answers to why he committed his crimes. Yes, I do wonder why he would kill his patients. Home Secretary David Blockett said celebration was tempting. You wake up and you receive a call telling you that Shipman has topped himself, and you think it is too easy to open a bottle, and then you discover that everybody is very upset that he's done it. Yeah. I wonder why he became a serial killer in the first place. Like, it doesn't have much information on his early life, but it seemed his early life was pretty normal from what I just read to you guys about his early life. the nation's newspapers and such were divided. The Daily Mirror branded him as a cold coward and commending the prison service for allowing his suicide to happen. Yeah, they can't really prevent it for the most part unless they have someone watching them like 24/7, but you know. However, the Sun ran a celebratory front page headline: Ship, hooray. The Independent called the inquiry into Shipman's suicide to look more widely at the state of UK's prisons, as well as the welfare of inmates. In The Guardian, an article by General Sir David Ramsbotham, who had formerly served as Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Prison, suggested that whole life sentencing by replacing the wait what suggested that whole life sentencing be replaced by indefinite sentencing. Nah, bro, gotta keep them life sentences. Some people don't deserve to walk free, for this would be at least give prisoners the hope of eventual release and reduce the risk of their ending their own lives by suicide, as well as making their management easier for prison officials. Okay, whatever you say. The motives for his suicide were never established, though he reportedly told his probation officer that he was considering a suicide to assure his wife's financial security after he was stripped of his National Health Service pension. Oof. Um, Prime Rose Ship Prime Rose Shipman received a full NHS pension. And she would not have been entitled to if Shipman had lived past 60. Okay. So maybe he did it for his wife. Shipman refused to take part in a course which would have encouraged acknowledgement of his crimes, leading to a temporary removal of privileges, including the opportunity to call his wife. During this period, according to Shipman's cellmate, he received a letter from his wife exhorting him to tell me everything no matter what. Okay. 2005 inquiry that Shipman's suicide could not have been predicted or prevented. Yeah, you can't really predict or prevent a suicide in a lot of cases, especially in prison, as they usually come out of nowhere, and people are pretty good at hiding their feelings of wanting to do so for the most part. But the procedures should nonetheless be re-examined. Fair. After Shipman's body was released to family, it remained in Sheffield for more than a year, despite multiple false reports about his funeral. His widow was advised by police against burying her husband in a casket. The grave was attacked. Okay. Shipman was eventually cremated on the 19th of March 2005 at Hutcliffe Wood Crematorium. The cremation took place outside normal hours to maintain secrecy and was attended only by Prime Rose and their 4 children. Okay, so there's that. But yeah, I've seen a documentary or two about this dude, and he's pretty interesting to say the least. Not much about him, but pretty interesting. So, yeah, that is Harold Shipman. Thank you for listening to this episode on the Murder House Radio Show. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday or whenever you are listening to this. Check out the social medias and the sources in the description below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all to get all notifications if you are listening on YouTube. If you are listening on a podcasting platform, hit follow. See you next episode. This is your host X signing off.